Hey, I'm going to work exercise 3.19 for you. It's on page 127. You may want to get your book so you can look along, because once we talk about the problem in the book, I'm not going to have the book out anymore. I'm just going to be working the problem. So let's see what's going on here. We are trying to figure out materials handling, and we feel like the cost driver for material handling is the number of moves for handling the materials. We have three different resources that go into moving materials. We have a forklift, which we have to depreciate. We have some indirect labor, and we have some fuel and oil for the forklift. So we're going to do high-low method, and they've just given us the low and high. Now, of course, in real life, you would have, for each month, let's say, you'd have number of moves, total cost, for maybe 10 or 20 of them. But we just have the low and high right here. So for the forklift, the low number of moves was 6,500, and that depreciation was 1,800. The high number of moves was 20,000, 1,800. Looks fixed to me, but we'll apply the formula to it anyway. Same thing with indirect. So the low, of course, the number of moves is going to be low and high, always the same, but the total cost is going to be different depending on what it is. So we've got our information we need to do the high-low method. The question wants us to do three things. Determine the cost behavior, so figure out, is this fixed, is it variable, is it mixed? If it's mixed, where's the intercept and what's the slope? Then it wants us to go on, and after we've determined the cost, to use this to predict the cost for 9,000. Okay, so that's the point of it, right? If I know what my costs are, I can plug any number in I want and figure out how much it would cost, and then use that to make a formula. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to remove this, and we're going to work it. I'm going to do two parts. So the first, I'm going to work on this video, part 1, determining the cost behavior formula for each resource using high-low. Then I'll do a second video where I do parts 2 and 3, which is really just taking what I've calculated here and using it to estimate for a specific number. In this case, they're asking for 9,000. All right, so let's remind ourselves how to do high-low. If you don't remember, go to exercise 3.9 on page 91. They give you an example of it there. So high-low, you're calculating the variable by taking your high cost minus your low cost, right? Your cost is always on your y-axis. You take your variable, whatever it is, in this case it's moves, high number of moves minus low number of moves, and you divide your cost by the moves, right? Your rise over run, if you remember slopes, and that's going to give you your variable or the slope of your line. So to get the fixed costs, you need to know your slope, because you're going to take your total costs minus that variable cost times your variable, right? Slope times the variable. So it doesn't matter if you use the high cost or the low cost, but you have to use, if you're using high cost, you have to use high number of moves. If you use low, you have to use high here. So we've got those numbers, so let's just go ahead and plug them in. So first we're going to do forklift depreciation. All right, so to figure out forklift depreciation, we will take the variable, right? Variable, which is 1,800 minus 1,800, so that's 0, so it doesn't really matter what we divide it by, but just to make sure we understand our formula, we'll take X2, which is 20,000, minus X1, the low, 6,500, right? And that is, of course, equal to 0. 0 divided by anything is 0, so there is no slope. So what that says is, this is going to be a line like that, right? It's a fixed cost. We just don't know the intercept. But that's what the fixed formula is in high-low. You take either y1 or y2. In this case, they're the same thing. And you subtract out your slope times either y1 or y2, depending on x1 or x2, depending on whether you used y2 or y1. So for fixed, that's equal to 1,800 minus 0 times, in this case we'll go times 20,000. We'll pretend this is y2, right? And of course that is equal to 1,800. So now we know that this line, the intercept, is 1,800. We already kind of knew that because we could see it was a fixed cost, but that's how the formula works. Let's do the next part of the formula. Let's do indirect labor. Alright, so let's see if some of this is variable and some of it's fixed. So our y1 and y2 in this case, variable is equal to 135,000 minus 74,250. Right? And then we divide that by our 20,000 minus our 6,500, right? And we come up with exactly $4.50. So that's the slope of our line. For every additional move, right, our total cost goes up $4.50. That's the variable cost for moves. For indirect labor anyway, right? We're doing it part by part. So $4.50 belongs to direct labor. So for fixed, what part of our materials movement cost is fixed? Well, we're going to do this again, right? This part, the fixed part. So we'll use the 74,250, right? Minus our 450 times what goes with 74,250, 6,500. Right? You got to match your high with your high or your low to your low. It doesn't matter whether you use high or low, but that's what you do. So 74,250 minus 450 times 6,500 is equal to 45,000. All right, so that's the fixed. So this means this is your intercept. So you're going to have a line, something like this, and this is 45,000, and the slope of this line is $4.50. All right, so it's going to increase $4, and it's going to always be 45,000 to start out with, and then for every additional move it increases $4.50. All right, and finally, what's the third thing we do? Fuel and oil for the forklift. All right, so again, our variable, high minus low cost. So in this case, the total cost was $15.2, and our low was $49.40. Divide that by 20 minus 6,500. And we get a variable cost of 76 cents. So every time you do a move, you increase the total cost by 76 cents for the fuel oil. All right, so let's see how much the fixed costs are for oil and fuel. Okay, so again, we're going to pick either the high or the low. And I think this time we'll go with the high. So we'll take 15,200 minus 0.76 times 20, the high. So you got to match your high to your high. All right. And guess what? It's equal to 0. There is no fixed cost, which makes a lot of sense, right? If you're not driving it, if you're not doing a move, you're not using fuel, So when you use it, so it's 76 cents. So if you were to draw this line, it would start at 0 and go up, and this would be a slope of 0.76. All right, total cost and moves. All right, so there's how our costs behave. Our depreciation is fixed. Our indirect labor is mixed with an intercept of 45,000 and a slope of 450, and our fuel and oil is just straight up variable. There is no fixed fuel costs. All right, so now we'll be able to use these numbers to complete the rest of the problem, which I'll do on the next video.